Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kings of War Battle Report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we have Forces of the Abyss versus Salamanders. This battle was fought at 2250 points and the scenario was Control. So first off, we have my opponent's Salamander army, which opens with the Crew of the Embers Dance formation. That formation involves 3 troops of Corsairs and the Firebrand. In this formation, all the Corsairs gain +1 to their range attack and all 4 units gain Elite. Next up, we have the Inspiration of the Ancients formation, which involves 2 regiments of the aforementioned Ancients. Then we have a Clan Lord, and in this case, that Clan Lord has brought the Banner of the Griffin and a Mount. In this formation, the Ancients gain Inspiring, and the Clan Lord becomes Fearless, which I believe puts it at a -15, and base Rally 1, so with the Banner of the Griffin, Rally 2. Next up, we have a Horde of Tyrants, followed by a Horde of Ancients on Rhinosaurs with the Caterpillar Potion. Then we have a Horde of Gekota Sky Raiders with the ubiquitous Jar of the Four Winds. Next up, we have Artakal, Great Include. And then a Mage Priest with Martyr's Prayer 7 and Teleport 3. And finally, 2 Liquilodons just to round it out. I really like this army. It's pretty similar to what I was running, which was I believe a take on Jesse Cornwell's version of Salamanders. So yeah, I really like this. I think Salamanders are best when they bring at least 2 of their formations. All 3 of the formations I think are excellent. And yeah, this is about what I would do. I know I brought two hordes of Ancients on Rhinosaurs, but I think swapping that out for, I believe, the Sky Raiders and the Liquilodons makes for a very interesting army. Artakal is an interesting include as well. I've had it played against me a few times, and it's just a good unit. 140 points is a little expensive, but still pretty good. Next up, we have my Forces of the Abyss army, and boy, I hope you are ready for some unpainted piles of models. So, sorry about that, but first off, we have 2 troops of Gargoyles, followed by a horde of Lower Abyssals with 2-handed weapons, 2 regiments of Succubi Lurkers, 2 regiments of Tortured Souls, 2 regiments of Helicans with 1 having the Blade of Slashing, and an Archfiend with Brew of Haste, Critter Skull 8, and Wings, and finally the Well of Souls. I was playing 5 points down in this army, and it's because I originally I had 30 points that I hadn't figured out what to do with the army, so I just threw Critter's Call and Blade of Slashing, kind of forgetting that Critter's Call is 20 points, not 25 points. So I did play 5 points down. This army was mostly built because, I don't know, it was late at night and I just kind of felt like playing Abyssals. I had listened to the countercharge where Jeremy had mentioned that they were going to do an Abyssal one next, and I was like, oh right, Abyssals. And I haven't really given them their 2019 due. I do like Abyssals. I think that they need some internal cleanup a bit when you just look at some of these units and you go, why does this exist if this exists, right? So anyway, I felt like playing it and I just threw some models together at the last minute and brought it. So here we see the table, and let's talk about the terrain real quick. So first off, in the bottom right, we have a height 0 graveyard with a height 1 obstacle attached to it. Above that, we have a height 2 hill. Then to the left of that and above a little bit, we have a height 6 forest. Down below here, we have a height, I think we ran this as height 3, maybe it was height 4, obstruction. Right above it, we have another height 0 graveyard. Then to the left of that, we have another height 2 hill. Below that, we have another height 2 hill, so quite a few hills this game. And then finally, we have the last height 6 forest. So pretty standard table layout. Like I said, this was it was kind of a busy weekend, and we were just sort of rushing to get the stuff on the table. So this area is a little anemic, for example, in fact both of our deployment zones are. So it just happens sometimes. Now for the scenario, Control is a pretty easy one. You divide the table into 6 equal parts. Each zone is worth 1 control point if you have the highest unit strength in it at the end of the game, and then this zone is worth 2 VP to me at the end of the game if I control it, and then this bottom center zone is worth 2 VP to the Salamanders if they control it. So that's the gist of it, pretty simple. Moving forward, let's talk about the armies. So this, starting on my opponent's right side, we have the Horde of Gekota Sky Raiders with the Jar of the Four Winds. Next up, we have the Tyrants, and someone always asks, These models were custom made many years ago by a guy who now does a lot of sculpting for Total War Warhammer. So no, you can't buy them. They're almost impossible to find. So sorry guys. Then we have a regiment of, or the Regiment of Ancients, the first regiment. Then next to that, in this height 0 graveyard, we have the first and second Lachilodon just staring at each other. Right behind them, we have the horde of Ancients on Rhinosaurs with the Caterpillar Potion. Right in front of that horde, we have, and this is another one of those models that was made by that sculptor long ago. So that is the Clan Lord sitting there on his mount, or on their mount, I guess. Then we have the second regiment of Ancients. And finally, we have all 3 units of, I guess the third one's probably a little off screen. But yeah, we have all 3 units of the Corsairs with the Firebrand right here. And then these models are from Mirsha Miniatures if you're looking for them. Actually, I don't think they're released just yet, but these are the Mirsha models. This is obviously after my opponent has vanguarded at least some of the units. I'm not sure that he's finished moving these yet, but at least this unit has vanguarded, and the one that's not appearing is also vanguarded. So, oh, there it is. So there is the last unit just over this obstacle. Oh, and there, I think I forgot to mention, there is another height 1 obstacle next to this height 2 hill. So moving on to the Abyssals. First off, we have the horde of lower Abyssals with the 2-handed weapons. Right behind them, this is the first troop of Gargoyles. This flying bird monster, that is the Well of Souls this game. Right in front of the Well of Souls, we have the first regiment of Lurkers, followed by the second regiment of Lurkers. Right behind that second regiment, we have the second troop of Gargoyles. Then over here, these guys, oof. I think originally I had put these knights together and wanted to run them as Soul Reapers, so that's why they're on skeleton horses right now. If I continue playing this list in the future, I'll just pop them off and pop them onto Cold Ones or something else. But anyway, then we have both the regiments of Helicans. I think this is the unit with the Blade of Slashing. Then over here we have the Archfiend of the Abyss, followed by both of the regiments of Tortured Souls right in front of him. So that's the army, and let's see what happens. Turn 1. Turn 1, my opponent actually wins the roll-off and wisely chooses to make me go first, since I have so little shooting. In fact, all I have is 1 Critter Skull, and that's it. So yeah, just forcing me forward. And the Abyssals do decide to go forward. When I placed this unit here, the lower Abyssals, it's mostly because I don't have this and this. This are my 2 major avenues to get a horde through without being slowed down by the terrain around here, right? So I placed this unit first, and then my opponent counter-deployed pretty heavily, and so I just immediately deployed my entire army over here and just went, deal with it. So the lower Abyssals move aggressively towards my opponent's, to me, the right flank, but they're really just a feint. They're mostly just there to take some damage, as both, I'm only speed 5, and both these units are also speed 5, so I can't outrange them, and there's a lot of guns over here. Oh, I think I forgot to mention, Artakal is somewhere in this oh, no, there's Artakal. I did forget to mention him, or her. So that's Artakal there, and then the Mage Priest is right here behind the Ancients. So anyway, the Lurkers advance forward through the forest. I decide to not try to double down with stealthy and cover, because I don't think it's really necessary. And then I take the Well of Souls and just back them up to make sure that these units are inspired. I place my Gargoyles just behind the woods because I don't need them. The Gargoyles in this game are just going to be straight chaff. So I'm either going to run them in front of my opponent's dangerous units, or I'm going to run over and grab a table quarter at the end of the game. Those are their 2 uses right now. So they don't need to appear just yet. The Knights advance a little bit forward. You can see this gray die is marking off how far I think this unit can charge. So I'm staying back a little bit just because I know these Corsairs are going to have to come into my charge range or waste all their shots. So I'm not really going to push aggressively just yet. And then I have my Tortured Souls, just one is here on the hill, and then I've got the other one basically next to it, a little off center, with the Archfiend behind to just make sure that all of this is inspired as well. And that's it. There's no shooting, so we move forward. So here we see the Salamanders turn 1. It's a bit more interesting because, you know, they have higher, or in this case, my opponent has a higher mobility army, or not higher mobility, but more interesting movement army with the combination of shooting. So first off, we have the Gekota Sky Raiders just dodging any ability for me to see them by going over onto this hill. And we have both of these melee regiments just advancing forward onto my lower Abyssals to make sure I don't push my interdiction too far forward. They're just at 10 inches in case you're wondering. Then we have the Priest, and our Tuckle actually goes right here. Just behind the Tyrants, and that's because my opponent is going to go for teleport this turn, and if it fails, it makes it so our Tuckle's well protected, although I don't have anything that could have charged her anyway. But anyway, the teleport, spoilers, the teleport works, and our Tuckle ends up over here. So anyway, the Lachilodons just sit in the graveyard. They do not need to do anything else. What are these? The Ancients on Rhinosaurs also just stay back because I think my opponent got a little jammed up here on this flank. It's just really hard to move forward as both these units are speed 7, these are speed 8, and then I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flyers over here. So it's just hard for the Ancients to move forward and get out of the way. Now, keeping the traffic jam, this one more intentional. My opponent decides to sacrifice one unit of Gekota, putting them in front, unpainted, always the sacrifice. Then the other two just hang out on the obstruction, and the idea here, I think, is to make it so if the Tortured Souls want to charge in on these Gekota, which they do, or not Gekota, Corsairs, they are going to end up hitting this barrier and making it so they're hitting on 5s and losing their one Thunderous. So pretty bad there. And then lastly, my opponent just takes the Clan Lord and places it exactly there because that's exactly 6 inches away from this unit, and my opponent really wanted to make sure. I think they are a 11 or an 11-13, and then with the Firebrand right there brings them up to Fearless, and then they're dash 15 with the Rally 2. So kind of important just to make sure I don't or I could accidentally fail it. So anyway, that's that. Moving on to shooting, or this is a better shot of where the Firebrand ends up. But yeah, just a bit of an action shot. Really nicely painted army, of course. And here is the end of the turn. So with my opponent shooting, first off, we've got the Gekota Sky Raiders and Artakal shooting into my lower Abyssals. They end up taking 8 wounds here. So I'm not sure that's great dice, but it's what happens. The Lachilodons here, I think both of them shoot at this unit of lurkers and do 3 wounds there. Then it ends up a little, so these 3 units here, so 2 of the Corsair units and the Firebrand shoot into one of my units of Tortured Souls and just get it to double 1s. So this unit can shoot at a different target, chooses to shoot at my knights here, and does 1 damage. So the Tortured Souls, you might have noticed, are not here, and that is because, well, they die. So my opponent yeah, no, it was on double 1s. So yeah, they end up going out, and First Blood goes to the Salamanders. Let's see what turn 2 does for the Abyssals. So turn 2, finally the Abyssals get to do something. So first off, we've got my Archfiend. It looks like I might be going for a flank here. I didn't have a flank. What I've charged into is the Firebrand, who's just right behind there. Then I take one of my knight units. This is the one that took one damage, and I swing around charging into the Corsairs there. I take the other knights then and swing this way. It's a little messy, but yeah, it's late. I take one of my units of Tortured Souls, and there was a perfect little gap here where the 50 mil of the Archfiend would not fit, but the 40 mil of the Tortured Souls fits just perfectly to charge into this Clan Lord. So I take that charge. I end up charging into the Ancients before these knights move with my Gargoyles. It doesn't really matter. I'm just holding these 2 units up. I don't want them charging past my lines into, say, the Lurkers or into my knights. So holding them up there. I take one of my Lurkers and charge into one of the Lachilodons. I mean, Lurkers are just so good. That Pathfinder, I mean, they're +1 speed Pathfinder and +1 def for only like 30 points or 35 points, something like that. So just a great unit. So I take them into the Lachilodon. I decide to take the well and charge into the other Lachilodon, mostly because in the moment I forgot that wells hit on a 4+ and not a 5+, or not a 3+ like an Archfiend. So bit of a mistake there, but I did measure it out to make sure that when I fall back an inch, if I fall back an inch, these guys cannot see me. So the only thing that could possibly charge me is the Lachilodon, as these ancients on rhinosaurs will have to contend with the lurkers first. So anyway, that's the plan there. The lower abyssals just decide to back up because there's no real reason to go forward, and I want to make sure that my opponent pushes a little deeper into my territory, so when I start swinging my army around, they'll have to deal with this obstruction more than I will. So that's the plan. So I pull back a couple inches. Actually, I pull back a little too far. I think I shouldn't have ceded that much ground, but I do anyway. My regen does not go very well. I regen 1 wound off, so they're down to 7 there, and they're no longer inspired because who cares? So we run off, and that's about it. Well, these gargoyles don't really move. They just hide more behind the woods, and that's it. Oh, no. I do one thing, which is these these lower abyssals did regen 1, so they were down to 7. But when I move my Well of Souls, I decide to pull 5 of that damage off just because of the Life Leech 5 here. So yeah, I just take 5 of it, run off with it, because that's what the well does. I will mention that I forgot, or I haven't run my Abyssals in a few years now, and I forgot that the Well of Souls can actually target multiple units with that drain ability. If I had known that, or if I had just remembered it, I probably would have pulled these 3 wounds from the lurkers as well, but we'll see if that matters. Now, moving forward, this is a bit of the action shot. Let's get the end of turn. Oh, so this is the other thing about the Archfiend. So if the Archfiend blows through this Firebrand, I will have an overrun possibility. I think I need to roll a 3 to get into these Corsairs. And if I do so, I won't actually hit the wall, because even centered up, my 50 mil base does not hit that wall. So that's the plan there, just to hopefully kill this off with the 9 attacks. You know, it's not the most likely, but I could do it. And then overrun here, and then probably kill this off, if I'm being honest. Well, no, I probably wouldn't, but if I get a waiver, it's pretty good. And then even if I don't kill them, when I fall back, I either won't be in line of sight of this unit or something. No, it's that if that unit, right now with where I am, if I fall back, these units charge me in the front. So that's the plan. And here is the end of the turn. So first off, let's start with the left. I do open by taking my I open by taking the Tortured Souls into this Clan Lord, because the Clan Lord doesn't benefit from its own rally. The Tortured Souls don't do terribly well, but you know, it's not you don't expect 4+ units with only 9 attacks to do too well. But I end up doing 4 wounds there, so pretty good. I don't get a waiver, of course, because it is fearless. And we move down to the Archfiend, who decides to fight the Firebrand next. I do 6 wounds, and then I have Brutal, but unfortunately, again, I don't manage to kill off that Firebrand or waiver it. The Firebrand might also be fearless. I know she makes the Corsairs around her fearless, so she might also be, but I do fail to waiver it at least. These Knights do blow pretty easily right through the Corsairs that were right in front of them and take the 1 wound off of them, because Helicans are amazing and have Life Leech. So yeah, get that off, and then the Gargoyles do 0 wounds. I don't even think they hit, but it doesn't matter. Then my lurkers end up killing off that Lachilodon, which is great. I turn to face down the Rhinosaurs. Now, I know these Rhinosaurs do have Pathfinder, but still, I mean, I have Ensnare. So the Rhinosaurs have, 18 attacks on 3s, so it'd be 18 attacks on 4s. That's 9 hits, around 9-ish wounds with Brutal. 6 to not die. Hopefully, you know, with a little luck, I could stay up, but, you know, what happens. And then I take, oh no, it's even worse. Yeah, it's gonna be a 3 because I didn't pull those wounds off. Mistake. So the Well of Souls, you know, I charge in here and I'm like, okay, so rolling for 4s, and my opponent goes, no, you're rolling for 5s. But fortunately for me, I actually hit only on 5s anyway, or only on 6s. So I hit 4 6s, wound with all 4 of them, life leech 4 of those wounds off, and then the Lachilodon ends up getting wavered. So a waver obviously isn't as good as a break, but a waver is really good here because nothing can target my Well of Souls. It's free to do whatever it wants, and the Lachilodon will not be shooting. So good news for me. And that's it. So let's move on to turn 2 for the Salamanders. So turn 2 Salamanders. The Gekota just continue messing around with my lower abyssals. I probably could have positioned better to try to zone them out a little bit more, but honestly I don't really care because they've got 24-inch range with the Jar of 4 Winds. So even if they're back here, it doesn't really matter, and then they can move 20 or move 10 and shoot, so whatever. So we end up right here. The Tyrants move forward just out of 10 inches, so I can't charge them. I think the Ancients are just barely within 10, but I can't fit them there because there's this obstruction and then the Tyrant, so it doesn't work out. So anyway, that's that. Our Tackle just continues sitting directly behind me. I can't target it because I didn't bring any individual killers today. Over on in the middle of the table, you can see that yes, the Ancients on Rhinosaurs do charge into my Succubi Lurkers, so looking for the easy kill there. Well, it's still a 4+ to hit, and 4+ to hit if you've ever played Undead isn't the most reliable. So anyway, the Lachilodon that was fighting my Well of Souls just backs off. Pretty standard move. The Ancients that were fighting Gargoyles just charge into it, so that's also fine, with the Clan Lord deciding to charge into my Tortured Souls here. So the Clan Lord originally toyed around with the idea of charging into my Succubi because with individual could pivot like this and then can currently see them, and then pivot better, but anyway, could pivot, run off, and charge into them, but it ends up not being able to fit because of if the Ancients want to charge, it's just not going to work. So it just takes the charge into the Tortured Souls and calls it good. The Firebrand has charged, I believe, into these guys. I can't really see where the Firebrand is. Oh no, it's right there. There it is. So the Firebrand has charged into this unit of Helicans, hoping to knock them down a peg. Then we've got both of the units of Corsairs charging into my Archfiend. Both of them are hindered because they were touching the wall at the beginning of their activation, so I'm not really worried about that too much. And that's about it. Let's get the action shot here. A blurry one, but yeah, man, I really love these Wandia's Demonettes, and I have a ton of them, but it's unlikely that they'll ever get done. And here is an end of turn shot. So first off, let's start on the left. We've got both the Corsairs going into the Archfiend. They end up doing 3 wounds, which isn't the best, but it's not too bad, and they do not get the waiver, so I'm free to charge what I want. They did turn off my Thunderous Charge and Flight, so that is what they were going for, and it works. Next up, we've got the Clan Lord going into the Tortured Souls. The Clan Lord does 4 wounds to me. It's only got 5 attacks, but it's 5 attacks on 3s, and then I think it wounds me on 2s with Vicious. So yeah, 4 wounds isn't all that bad. Tortured Souls are a -15, so they end up sticking around, so that's good. The Firebrand just fails to. I don't even think it hits me, or maybe it hits with 1 attack. And then fails to wound it on the Helican, so they've got their Thunderous Charge for the next turn. That's not the best, but what happens, happens. Then we've got the Gargoyles deleted by the Ancients, and then the Ancients fall back D3 inches. I think they fall back 3 here, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad, because now my Succubi can actually see them before they couldn't. So anyway, speaking of Succubi, they end up getting annihilated by those Ancients. It's not even close. I think my opponent sinks like 12 or 11 or 12 wounds on me. So it's pretty nasty. And then they're double one and gone. And that's about it. Yeah, there's nothing else to... Oh, no, there's one other thing, which is, yeah, this unit of lower abyssals ends up taking 13 wounds, all said and done at the end of the turn. Almost all of it is from the Gekota. I think our Tackle's not rolling too hot just yet, but yeah, these Gekota are more than enough to handle this horde of lower abyssals. Thankfully, they're not killed and they're not wavered, so they're free to live for another turn or so. And we move on to turn 3. So turn 3. first thing I do is walk my lower abyssals into the terrain. It's not that big of a deal because the Gekkota are also in the terrain, so I think they do not take the negative for shooting then, and then Artakel's not going to take the negative. But it'll make it so the tyrants who I've been dancing with this whole time could charge into me, and that's what I'm looking for right now, because the Gekkota could just finish me on my own, on their own, because you know, I'm only def 3, but if the tyrants charge, they don't have Pathfinder, I don't think, natively at least. I think they have it in the Swamp Lurkers formation, but I don't think they have Pathfinder, and then they're a 4+ to hit unit. So, and then I have Fury, so the Fury is a much better rule on the counter charge, is sort of the whole point of this. And yeah, I'm just hoping to tempt my opponent into charging me with some tyrants instead of messing around with the Gekkota. In the center of the table, you can see things are getting heated. I take my lurkers, and the Helicans decide to do a combo charge onto these ancients. I'm not sure. So I could have taken the charge with the lurkers into the ancients on rhinosaurs, right? But those ancients on rhinosaurs are a -18 base, and then I think there's no way they're within 6, but they're a -18. And they're currently inspired because the ancients, so I just wasn't sure it was going to work, especially with me only wounding on 5s, right? I have no crushing strength here, and I have no bane chant, so yeah, I just decided to sit it out there. I take the Well of Souls and just fly over the Lachilodon and turn around to face the rear of all these units, facing like this. So yeah, that's the plan. I'm just holding off for a turn. Hopefully I'll kill off these ancients, and then I can turn my succubi towards these ancients on rhinosaurs and just go for that. Well, you need a 6 to kill me. Roll again. So that's the plan. And then even if they succeed, it's, you know, there's just a lot of units over here. Anyway, next up we've got my other Helicans deciding to charge into one of the units of Corsairs, just looking to wipe them out real quick, and my Archfiend charging into, or countercharging the other unit, because they've got nothing else to do, right? Like, I can't fly, I can't cast my Critter's Call, so I might as well just charge here. I decide the Tortured Souls here, and this kind of hurt, because I wanted to get this combo charge badly. I have to take the Torture Souls and just crab walk away from the Clan Lord. I was looking forward to, you know, it's got 4 wounds on it right now. You know, I could spike a roll there. I've got 9 attacks. I hit on 4s, and then I believe I wound on 4s. So I could sink, you know, 2 to 3 wounds if I was lucky, and then get another lucky roll, right? An 8 or 9 twice, easy. So I did want to get it just to start ramping up the damage there, but couldn't afford it, so I just crab over here real quick. And that's about it. A pretty small army. Again, the remaining gargoyles, they just pull a little bit this way. I'm just trying to make it so, again, what I want is these Gekkota to fly over and engage my gargoyles while the tyrants try to take down the lower abyssals, or the lesser abyssals. So if that happens, I mean, I'm basically banking that you could lose 2 units, or again, if the Gekkota decide to finish the job, I probably won't lose both the units here, because Artakel would have to one-shot these gargoyles, which, I mean, I guess is pretty I guess that's actually pretty possible, as gargoyles are def 3 and an 8/10, so yeah, we'll see how that works out. So here is the action shot, and the action is I regen 1 of my 13 wounds. So out of 21 wounds so far, I've regened 2. Good job, lower abyssals, you guys are excellent. I mean, they are excellent, it's just funny variants. So moving forward, now here's the second action shot of the turn, which is I end up doing like 10 or 12 wounds to these Corsairs, and I get the first double one of the game. So, yep, nailing it right there. Gonna have to waste at least 1 more turn. But thankfully, no other double ones. So my Archfiend does manage to finish off Corsairs. I keep wanting to call them Gekkota, but they're just Corsairs. And thankfully, the Knights, the Helicans, and the lurkers do manage to kill off these ancients, so things are looking up there. You might be thinking, oh, that's a juicy flank, but before I did this charge, I put out a proxy base and went, am I within 10 inches? And the answer is no. So they do not have a flank charge there. And that's it. Let's move on to turn 3 for the Salamanders. So turn 3 Salamanders is, it's pretty simple over here, right? I mean, I just did that whole rigmarole about things that they could do, but at the end of the day, our tackle does just move over here to try to kill off those gargoyles. The Gekota just go to finish these lower abyssals because they're still on 12 wounds, so it should not be a particularly hard roll there. The tyrants just continue plotting their way forward, and so do these ancients. Now the ancients are an interesting unit in Salamanders right now, just because having inspiring on a regiment there is just it makes them have a dual purpose. So even when you're dragging them around because you're faster than they are, well, they're still doing something, right? Moving up the field and getting position isn't just for later turn charges. It's also to make sure that you have the inspiring, because right now these guys are not inspired. So pretty good roll. And speaking of that, on the right or on the left, we've got, my opponent takes their hero here and just runs off at my Well of Souls, hoping to turn off my flight. It's an okay move, I guess. I don't have any Thunderous Charge, so, it only does so much, but every bit counts, I guess. And then we've got the Corsairs countercharging into my Helicans here, just because I got that double one, so happens. Here is the action shot, just another beautiful fight here. And here is the end of the turn. So yeah, my opponent does get the double kill in my backfield. I did not think our tackle was going to put the damage through. I mean, again, I was just underestimating her due to the damage she put out in the game so far. But, don't be stuck in results-oriented thinking, folks. So I lose the gargoyles. It's not the biggest loss, but it's still a loss that I didn't need to sustain. And I lose the lower abyssals, and that's about what I expected anyway after that very poor regen. So that happens. In the middle, I do get a stroke of luck here, which is these lurkers not only survive the charge from the ancients, but the ancients just flub it super hard. And, that's what I was sort of talking about before with what happens with 4+ to hit, so it's just not reliable, and they go in and do essentially nothing. So that's not pretty for them. This model here looks dangerous, but that's just the center model taken out. So they are actually right here, meaning I believe I have a flank charge with Helicans. No, that's definitely a front charge, but it'll be Helicans and lurkers in the front, and if I wanted to, I could even get this Well of Souls into the rear. So pretty cool there. And lastly, back here with the Clan Lord. The Clan Lord goes into the Well of Souls and I believe does 4 wounds, so I'm sitting on 5 right now. And that's about that, since the Well of Souls is a -20, so there's no roll. Now there is a slight mistake by me, not by my opponent, which is when I moved these Tortured Souls over, I did not need to go all the way over here. This was too far, because I'm just barely out of line of sight for these ancients when they charge me. So it's just a mistake I didn't need to make, and I did. And that's that. So let's move on to turn 4. So turn 4, we're just flying through now. And we get, the Helicans here ended up taking 1 wound from the Corsairs. So make good use of that life leech. So we've got I think I forgot to mention a couple of turns ago. Yeah, when these guys charged into the Firebrand, yeah, I kill that Firebrand easily, and then I get a double 1 on this unit when I do the overrun. So that's what happened. Sorry about that. But yeah, I go into them again, looking for another. Well, I need to do 1 wound, and then they're at double 1s again. I fly the Archfiend just on top of the hill here, and the point is to get a Critter's Call onto this Mage Priest, as the Mage Priest has taken all the wounds off of The Lakiladon? Where's the Lakiladon? Oh, it's right there. So the Mage Priest has taken in 2 turns the wounds off of the Lakiladon here and the wounds off this Clan Lord. So both those are unwounded, but this is now sitting on 8. So yeah, I'm just going for a quick Critter's Call. Sure, if I land a wound, it'll turn off its shooting, but it'll put it to 9 wounds as well. So that's not a particularly hard kill there. So that's the plan. I take the Tortured Souls and I just walk over to where I am. The point of it is to make sure that I think it gives my Archfiend cover? No, it's not doing that. It's just barely off the hill. So I have pretty good line of sight after my units move a little bit. If I want, I can see the Clan Lord if I want. I can go basically anywhere I want. And if the Gekota advance forward, I'll have cover for their shooting. Or maybe they won't even... No, they're height 3. So I'll have cover from their shooting. I didn't want to be on the hill and turn that off. So that's that. With my charges, I do take both the Helicans and the Lurkers into the front of the Ancients on Rhinosaurs. And originally I was like, well, I have to take the Well into the rear just to get it to double ones. And then I start doing the math and I'm like, no, they'll be at double ones anyway, on average, so that's just overkill. So I take the Well and go into the Clan Lord. This is when I actually wasn't paying that close of attention when my opponent was taking their turn until combat. So when they cast Martyr's Prayer here, I missed that the 4 wounds were healed, which is it's on me. So anyway, I don't think I would have done anything else with the Well right now. I would have charged one of these 2, so the Clan Lord's probably the best charge anyway. But moving forward, here we have the action shot. This is just showing off the Archfiend going into... Ooh, too far. Archfiend just casting that Critters. And here is the end of turn shot. So first off, we have the Archfiend casting Critter's Call, and there's no more Mage Priest. I end up doing only the 1 wound, but still I think it was a 4 or 5 to kill, and I do sink it, so that's good there. Then in the middle, you can see, the Ancients are gone. They are liquefied. So that's really good. And the Well of Souls does pretty well against the Clan Lord. Again, 4+ to hit just does what it does. And I think I hit with 5 of them. I think I do 5 wounds here, so I activate the full Life Leech 5. I had pulled the wounds off of the Lurkers that they took from the Ancients, and I think that was 3 again. So I'm down to, what is that? 3 wounds. Yeah, I think I have 3 wounds right now on the Well, so I'm not particularly afraid. I take the Lurkers, and now I turn to face towards the Ancients here. Also, I'm making it so the Ancients cannot charge my Helicans because they can't fit here besides the corner-to-corner charge, and maybe even that doesn't fit. But they can't fit there, and then they don't have enough rotates to get to the other side. So that's the plan. And then also I'm just barely out of the terrain or in the terrain here. So when they charge into my front, not only will they be -1 because I have ensnared, they'll be -1 because they don't have Pathfinder. Because for some reason, some Salamanders do and some don't. So anyway, that's the plan there. My Well of Souls, I talked about that. And that's about it. Yeah. So let's move on to Salamanders turn 5, right? No, turn 4. Yes, turn 4. Sorry about that. So Salamander turn 4. Not a lot of units left. Just those Abyssals definitely hit hard. So first off, we've got the Tyrants just swinging around trying to be part of the fight. Which is also what the Gekota do. The Gekota, of course, do it a little better because they've got the, those bows. I believe Artakal runs to be where she is now, so no shots there. And then we've got the Ancients charging into my unit of Lurkers and the Lakiladon just sitting here. Oh yeah, the Lakiladon's there to shoot into my Helicans along with the Gekota. Lastly, we've got the Clan Lord just swapping targets again, running over to the Tortured Souls, looking to kill them off, because they're already sitting on 4 wounds, and the Well of Souls healed 5, so it's down to 3. It's not going to happen. And here is the action shot. Great army, of course. I'm sure all of you are aware of it by now. I've shown it a few times, and it's shown up at a few events. So looks like I got a little out of order. Oh yeah, this is actually the after shot. Sorry about that. So yeah, with my opponent shooting, they do a couple wounds. I think it's It's not 3 or 4. Maybe it is 3 or 4. No, I think it's like 7 or 8 wounds to the Helicons here. With this counter charge, it's like 1 or 2 wounds to my lurkers. Not that big of a deal because they were hitting on 5s due to that -2. So that's not great. The Tortured Souls take a couple of wounds from the Clan Lord and again persist. So that's really good. I think they're at 9 wounds now. So yeah, pretty good. And that's that. So a little bit of an action shot and then we'll move forward on to turn 5. So turn 5, I guess we did another action. Turn 5 is interesting. So let's see if we've got a better... Yeah, there we go. Oh, nope, that's not a better shot. So turn 5 is a little better. I've got the Well of Souls and the Tortured Souls both going into the Clan Lord this time. Clan Lord sitting on 5 wounds already, so hoping to nail that kill there. I did have this charge. This was the unit of Helicons that was in the front of these Ancients, but they cannot charge into the front and have the other Helicons charge into the flank, just because of order of activations. So instead, I just take the flank charge, even though it puts me into range of the Tyrants. I'm not super worried about that. The Tyrants can charge my Helicons. These are unwounded, so it's unlikely that they'll actually pop, as they are at 16-18. Because they're ridiculous. I take the lurkers and go into the front of the Ancients, looking to kill them off. My opponent made a mild error here. Earlier in the game, when I got the Tortured Souls into this Clan Lord, my opponent knew that I could get the 40 there, and just went, yeah, I have to, be here to get within 6 of the Corsairs to give them Rally 2. But this time, they did not mean to leave enough room for my Archfiend to charge into the Lachilodon, but I could anyway, so I take it. And let's see what the end of the round looks like. Or the end of Abyssals. Yeah, it's a lot of dead Salamanders. First off, we've got the dead Clan Lord. That one was pretty easy after, I think the well sinks like six wounds or something like that. Or maybe it's just 5. But anyway, the well sinks enough wounds, does pretty well. Dun-dun-dun-ch. And the Clan Lord is dead. Next up, the Ancients are wiped out mostly by a flank charge from my Helicons, who do not roll very well, but they didn't need to. So yeah, they just pop right through there. And then we've got the Archfiend just keeping up. I think the Archfiend's done 6 wounds. So 9 attacks, 3's the hit, has hit 6 times, and then has Vicious and wounding on 2s. So it's just done 6 wounds every combat it's been in. So very consistent, and wipes out that Lachilodon with a mixture of its Brutal. So my opponent does not have a lot of units left. It's just these Tyrants, these Gekota, and Artakal left to go. And let's see what they can pull out. Salamander's turn 5. So Salamander's turn 5 here. First off, we have Artakal just turning to face... I think looking at shooting the Helicons along with the Gekota here. So they put their shots there. I think this unit's now at 7 wounds. And then we've got the Tyrants going into... No, I'm sorry. This unit here is at 4 wounds. And then we've got the Tyrants going into these... Helicons and ending up putting them at 8, I think. So yeah, these ones are at 8, and that's about it. But they don't manage to get the kill even with the Brutal, because again, 16-18 is a bitch. And we move on to turn 5. So that's the action shot. And there's the end of, this is turn 6. I lost the marker for it apparently, for the Abyssals. And it's a pretty quick one. There aren't that many units left, and we are just a charge army anyway. So first off, I take the Tortured Souls and I run behind the hill. I'm only height 2, so the Gekota could shoot at me if they want, but Artakal cannot. So even with her full movement, she's only movement 7, and can't see them from this angle, can't see them from this angle, and can't get enough of her base to be actually on the hill to shoot me from there. So safe from that. We've got the Helicons on quite a few wounds here. No, that's right. The Well of Souls just took them. And again, I could take them from both units, but I forgot, to be fair. So I should have just sucked all these wounds off, but just because the well is irrelevant where it's going to end up for the end of the game, winning it or not. But I take them from this Helican unit to make sure they stay alive in case there's a turn 7. These ones charge into the tyrants in the front. I've got a flank charge with an archfiend, but I also have a flank charge with the lurkers. And at the end of the day, I just go, the archfiend can just fly off and take a table, or not a quarter, but a table 6 on its own. But I do take the Well of Souls into the front. So I've got a Well, Helicans with no Thunderous, and then a flank charge from lurkers onto those tyrants. And at the end of this fight, yeah, I do manage to kill off the tyrants, which is great, especially as the Well does not roll well, the Helicans do not roll well. It comes down to the lurkers. Granted, they have 50 attacks on 3s and 5s, and they really put out the damage and managed to just barely kill the tyrants off. So my opponent is now down to 1 scoring unit. I don't think it's possible to win, but it might be possible to get a bit more attrition. So it's like a turn 6, a blurry picture, of course. So we've got our Toggle right here, hiding behind my Helicans here, just to make sure that if there's a turn 7, I don't have an easy kill. The Gekota, the Sky Raiders here, originally were trying to position themselves in such a way where they could not be charged by any of these units. Well, maybe by the Well, but nothing else. But it's probably mathematically better for them to be in the woods here. So that's their plan. They go there. Well, maybe it's not, but anyway, that's where they end up. And they decide to shoot at my Tortured Souls because our Toggle shoots into these Helicans and gets them high enough that I think it's a 3 or a 4 to kill, and my opponent just goes, well, I'll take the double kill if possible. So let's see what happens. Yep. Oh, no, yeah, up to 9 wounds. No, that 9 wounds. Whatever. Decides to go for the double kill either way. And here it is at the end of the game. The Tortured Souls are killed off, so that's really good for my opponent. Again, the Well should have just taken them, but I forgot. But doesn't manage to kill off the Helicans, and it ends up being I believe I have, so the lurkers are actually in my opponent's 2-point zone, and then these Gekota are in my 2-point zone. So my opponent has 2 points, I have 2 points, 3 points, 4 points. So it's a 4-2 victory for the Abyssals, and a rather good attrition victory as well, because our Toggle, I believe, is 140 and the Gekota are somewhere in the 200-point range. But these, I mean, Helicans and lurkers are all over 200 points. The Well is 275, and then I believe this Archfiend is like, what is that, 335 or something in that territory. So yeah, I've got that attrition bonus as well, and it's an Abyssal victory. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them below, and until next time, bye.